Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
My name's Paul, and I'm a full-blown alcoholic. And I'm one of those grateful alcoholics. I thoroughly enjoy being an alcoholic. I like being an alcoholic. I like this way of life. I like sobriety. I like anybody's sobriety, especially my own. And I love the AA way of life and all it has to do with it. And I couldn't have any of it if I didn't have any of it either, and I couldn't have it if I weren't an alcoholic. And so I'm glad to be an alcoholic. Yourself. If that bothers you to hear me say that, that's too damn bad. Talk to your sponsor about it. If you don't have a sponsor, get one. In fact, I must be a very sick alcoholic. I was figuring it out there. In a routine week, I go to 5 meetings a week and do the steps. In fact, I just finished doing all the steps with a group of 12 other alcoholics, where we take a pamphlet and we study the first 164 pages of the book, and as we come to a step, we do it. It's not a step study, it's a step do it. And each time I've done that, it's raised my program to a new level of sobriety. And just like the first time I did it, it's a lift that you get. And so I'm feeling real good tonight. I'm in a good spot. I'm a little embarrassed and a little intimidated. I'm intimidated by this group. I love this group. I love your enthusiasm. I find that I unwittingly rate groups by the level of enthusiasm at the meeting. And you have a lot of that, and I like that, and I appreciate that. But I feel intimidated by the losses that a number of you have felt, and I haven't had that experience. I don't even want that experience, whatever the experiences are you've had. But I feel a little inadequate. Inadequate is the word. Have you ever felt inadequate? I think it's all my life I've felt inadequate, and it was combined with a tremendous potential. See, I feel better already just saying that. I have had this feeling when I go to a men's maximum security prison to try to talk. I feel quite inadequate in that sense. And that's another experience I haven't had and don't look forward to. And if I keep doing this program, I likely won't have to experience that. But anyhow, I'm real glad to be here and be sober and be at an AA meeting and giving this thing away, because and participating in an AA meeting. That's what I mean by giving it away. Participating in an AA meeting. And anyway, it seems strange. It's strange. It seems. The way I see it is that I worked real hard trying to keep me sober. I did all kinds of things to try to keep me sober, and I could tell you, I could spend the whole time telling about that. I have a fascinating drunk-a-log. The problem is that I get so fascinated, I never end it. But I did all kinds of things to stay sober, and including quitting drinking. That was the worst thing to do. That was true. I quit drinking many, many, many times. And every time I quit drinking, I ended up drunk. Yeah. And I thought, my God, this quitting drinking is really hard on my health. Nothing works. And my experience has been that I can't keep me sober. I can't drink. I can't drink worth a damn. And I can't keep me sober worth a damn. And my efforts to keep me sober always fail. But oddly enough, my efforts to keep you sober, my efforts to make AA work, anything I do in AA, anything I do, just filling a seat at the meeting, going to a meeting on the night when nobody else is going to go because there's a storm out or because there's something real special on TV or whatever. When the meeting is going to be neglected, that's the time to go. And anything I do, picking up ashtrays, washing cups, or anything, talking at a meeting, leading at a meeting, reading at a meeting, anything. Right now I have an important job at my Wednesday night speaker meeting. I mail the tape to the speaker from the night before. And by God, they wouldn't get their tape if it weren't for me. And anything I do in the meeting, the payoff, the commission that AA gives me for doing that is that it keeps me sober. And so I can't stay sober, but my efforts to help you stay sober keep me sober. And I like that. Makes it fun to do the things and that. And so, as I said several times, I'm glad to be here tonight and glad to be an alcoholic. And I wasn't always glad to be an alcoholic. In fact, I wasn't even always an alcoholic, as a matter of fact. Wasn't even meant to be an alcoholic, as a matter of fact. Never even occurred to me that it might be a good idea, or even a bad idea, to be an alcoholic. I might even consider being an alcoholic. That never occurred to me. I mean, my mother never said, "What about growing up to be president of AA?" I don't remember any school counselor ever saying, "What about being an alcoholic? They have a lot of fun. You want to be an alcoholic?" This never occurred to me, and I had no intentions of ever being an alcoholic. I thought my life was so screwed up, and it was so bad, and there were so many things going wrong, that I thought there are only two ways it could be worse. And that would be that one, that I would attempt suicide and fail in some way that everybody knew I had attempted suicide, or I just half failed or something like that. And the other would be that I'd actually be an alcoholic. And I ended up in the nut ward. Ended up in the nut ward of the hospital I was on the staff of. What's funny about that? I didn't think it was very damn funny. In fact, it was very boring. I didn't even understand how the routine and stuff there. They had a bulletin board and they listed the activities for the day, and I'd read all that stuff and down by the hour and I think, I wonder what I'm supposed to do. Mostly what they seemed to be really stressing was the idea of making leather belts. I mean, they were fanatics on this leather belt stuff. I mean, God, they were trying to convince me that the quality of my life would improve if I learned how to make leather belts. I told them, I said, I've got a wall with papers and diplomas and certificates and all these things to prove that I've been educated way beyond my level of intelligence. And I couldn't see how my life would be improved in any way for me to know how to make leather belts. I didn't understand the philosophy, and besides, I didn't understand the instructions. That wasn't my fault. That was the fault of that dumb occupational therapist. Well, I've always had a theory that if you don't understand a thing well enough, you can explain it to me so that I understand it, and you don't understand as well as you're supposed to. And she'd explained it to me 3 times, I wasn't going to embarrass her by asking her a fourth time. I found it boring in the nut ward. I remember sitting there at the nut ward, commiserating with myself and thinking about the mistakes and misdiagnoses and poor medical management and the bad breaks and the things that went on, that a nice guy like me ended up in a place like that. And as I was thinking about these things, this dumb psychiatrist who couldn't see that my problems were marital walked up behind me and asked me if I would mind talking to a man from Alcoholics Anonymous. And I thought, my God, don't I have enough problems of my own without trying to help some drunk from AA? But I could tell by the look on his face that he thought it was a good idea. And, I mentioned Max. I said, all my problems were marital. And a lot of people asked me, where's Max? Where's Max? Max usually comes with me. Max and I go to Al-Anon with her every Monday noon, and she comes to a lot of my AA meetings. And we have two Ala dogs, and they come to both our meetings. And people ask me, how are the Ala dogs? How's Lily? How's Sabrina? The Max stayed home today. She's taking some kind of new pill for lower her blood pressure, and it also lowers her vitality. And she was feeling all washed out, so she stayed home, and she's got to keep the Ala dogs home with her. So I came down by myself. But it's bad when Max is missing. I thought of two things about that when people were asking me how Max was. I remember a time when we hadn't been on the program too long, and my daughter, and one of the two adopted daughters, wanted to know if they decided they didn't like organized religion, and they were going to start their own church, and they believed in baptism by total immersion, and they wanted to start their church, and they wanted to know if they could use our pool for the baptisms. And Max said, ask your father. So we let them use the pool, but Max was so upset she wouldn't go with me to the meeting that night. In fact, I was secretary of the Saturday night Laguna Beach Visiting Participation Group, and Max stayed home to watch the house from all these kids or whatever, and which I thought was kind of stupid. He had to protect the house from our own daughter. But she stayed home, and she did that. And when I got to the meeting, people were saying, where's Max? Where's Max? Where's Max? And I got sick of explaining, where's Max? Where's Max? So when I got up to make the secretarial announcements, I said, I'm tired of people asking me, where's Max? And so I'll tell you all at one time. Max is home in bed, having an Al-Anon slip. And and she got so many phone calls, she's never done that again. Another thing that happened about Max being sick. Max had a little funny spell, and so she went to the doctor, and she had an MRI and a carotid ultrasound and so on. They all turned out negative, and she's okay. And she was seeing this neurologist, and the neurologist saw her 2 visits. And on the second visit, he was saying to her, I can't figure you out. And I was sitting there, and I thought to myself, doctor, I've been married to this woman for 54 years, and I haven't figured her out yet. But you know what? I worked a real good program. I didn't say a damn word. I had a sore tongue, but I didn't say anything. One final thing about Max. Apparently, word got around that I don't know how it got around, but I got calls from New Orleans and from Houston and from Tucson, finding out how I was, because the story got out that Max died, and I got so depressed that I got drunk, and so I'm happy to say Max is in good shape. Don't, just because Max isn't here tonight, don't decide I've been drinking. I'm doing fine, and so is Max. And we're doing okay. Anyhow, to get back to the nut ward, you want to know if I'd go talk to a man from AA? I did talk to a man from AA. He wanted to know if I wanted to go to a meeting. He said he was going to a meeting. Would I like to go with him? I said, hell no, I won't like it, but I'll go. And I went. And the psychiatrist then got real interested in me. Wanted to know all about what kind of meetings they had and how often they had them and what was this about a book and what's this about steps and when am I going again, and just all these questions about AA. And I thought, my God, I've got me an alcoholic psychiatrist. He's ashamed to go and he's sending me. You know. And I wondered how many meetings I'd have to go to before I could get him sober so I could go home. Went to as many meetings as I could and could get Frank to take me to. Frank was very good about it. And finally got enough brownie points and got discharged from the hospital. I had no intention of going back again because I wasn't an alcoholic anyway. But my problem was that Max liked the meetings. And in fact, once I found out she liked the meetings, and I could use that against her when she wouldn't act right, I decided I wouldn't go into AA anymore. And apparently I said that one time too many. And she got in the car and she drove all the way from Anaheim to Laguna Beach to go to the meeting by herself. Because that's where we went all the way to Laguna Beach so we wouldn't run into anybody we knew. Now after 27 years we know everybody that goes to Laguna Beach so they won't run into anybody they know. Have you ever tried that? Have you ever tried sitting at home on a Saturday night drinking while your non-alcoholic spouse is off laughing it up at an AA meeting? I found it boring. I had to go back to the meetings to find out what they were laughing about. And I found out alcoholics laugh at anything. They laugh at nothing. They laugh at things they ought to be ashamed of. They even laugh at their drinking, for God's sake. One night I found myself laughing with them, and I haven't had a drink since. And that was 7 months. It took me 7 months of going to AA meetings to turn into an alcoholic. And there's nothing funny about it. I mean, that's where you get alcoholism. I used to think you get alcoholism from drinking alcohol in bars. That you get drunk drinking alcohol. But you get alcoholism from alcoholics. It's a contagious disease. It's a virus. It infects your brain. It goes in through your ears. You know. Nothing funny about it, because once you get it, you can't get rid of it. You know. And you sit around at AA meetings, you listen to these alcoholics talk, and you think, it isn't what they did, it's how they felt when they did it. And you think, I felt like that when I did. You suppose I might be boom, just like that, you're an alcoholic. Once you suspect it, it's too late. You've already got it. You can't not go to that meeting. It's just that meeting did it. I went to one meeting too many. If I'd have quit one meeting short, I would have been able to stay out there. And the other thing is that when I first became an alcoholic, I was a very, very, very mild alcoholic. I was almost not alcoholic. It was just a little bit alcoholic. I mean, just bad enough that I had to keep coming back. But the trouble with that is that as you keep coming back, you keep getting more infected. And so I rapidly became a much more alcoholic. I mean, I'm much, much, much more alcoholic tonight than I was when I first became alcoholic. Then I was more of the allergic to alcohol kind. I wasn't a drunkard. I wasn't a wino. Wasn't a lush. Certainly wasn't a Skid Row bum. I was allergic to alcohol. I react peculiarly to the drug alcohol. I do weird and peculiar things when I drink alcohol. In fact, my body doesn't handle alcohol well at all. fact, my body says that, my God, man, when we drink, our blood pressure goes up, our ulcer acts up, we get diarrhea, we have to take pills for the blood pressure, then we have to take potassium pills, then our blood sugar goes up, have to take diabetes pills, we get skin rashes, our brain shuts off for variable periods of time, we tend to fall down when we talk, we stutter or stammer, we slurred speech, we have blackouts, there are times when we just can't drink worth a damn. And my brain thinks for a moment and says, oh, what the hell? One little drink never hurt anybody. My mind and my body have never agreed. My mind has always made demands on my body that it couldn't fulfill. And so that's a dilemma when your body, when you both have to drink and you can't drink. That's called a dilemma. And what it means is that without AA, you're screwed. And I didn't know that was what the problem was. And I ended up, as I say, being an alcoholic. And the more I went to, I had to go to meetings. The more meetings I went to, the more alcoholic I became. I'm much more alcoholic tonight than I was then. In fact, I've even developed a little bit of a pill problem. Not much, in that I never ever took a pill unless I had the symptom. There's only that pill. I did. I either had it or I could feel it coming on. Every pill I ever took was medically indicated at the time I took it, and prescribed by a doctor, and taken according to directions. And I don't want to recommend pills, but I do have to give some honorable mention to amphetamines. I don't know that I would have had the stamina to have completed my pre-AA training period if it hadn't been. It did affect my hearing, though, in that I couldn't listen fast enough to hear what I was saying. I know this is an AA meeting, you're supposed to talk about alcohol, and that's true, but I did, as I said, I did have a few pills. I never became an addict, though. I mean, the only way you can be an addict to pills is you have to abuse them. Any doctor will tell you that. You have to abuse the pills. I don't even know how to abuse the pill. How do you abuse a pill? You throw it up against the wall and stomp on the thing, or verbally abuse it. You dirty, rotten little pill. Why don't you do what I do? I was very solicitous of my pills. I mean, they were very tiny little pills. You could tell, to look at them, you could tell they're very mild. I was even very careful where I carried. There's a little pocket inside the big pocket. That's where you carry pills. You can't carry pills just anywhere. I used to put them over with my change, and people would say, you got change for $1? And I say, oh yeah. And I go like that. And they say, oh, you carry Seconal around in the daytime. So I switch them over in my other pocket with my keys, and I'd go out in the car and take my keys out of my pocket. And I quaalude, run down the street. The damn thing always ran faster than I could run. And I couldn't stomp on it or I'd abuse it. But I never abused them. So I ended up in the nut ward. And I finally went to AA meetings and got out of there. Went to 7 months of meetings and ended up in alcoholic. And after I got to be an alcoholic, I did all these things. I got to a lot of meetings and had a sponsor, worked the steps, and read the book, and did all the stuff. I did didn't always want to do it. Most very commonly didn't want to do it. Just the more I did it, the more easier it became to do it, the more fun it became. And the more I could see the effect commonly on other people first, before I could see it on me. In fact, one of my first impressions of AA meetings was, these meetings aren't doing me much good, but they sure are helping Max and my wife. And but I could see the effect on other people. In fact, I've often said over the years, I'd keep coming back to AA, even if it wasn't keeping me sober, just to watch the effect on other people. I find it exciting to watch people in AA and see the light come on, watch it get brighter and brighter. And my problems today are not related to drinking. I haven't had a problem related to drinking since the last time I got drunk. And my problems today are not related to drinking. I still know that the drinking is my number one problem. You don't have to remind me of that, but I don't have a problem as a result of drinking today. My problems today, all my problems today, any problem I have today, every problem I have today, all my problems today are related to my thinking. I don't even have a problem today unless I think I have a problem. And as a matter of fact, I have never ever thought I had a problem and been wrong. If I think I have a problem, I have a problem. I alone determine whether or not I have a problem. And I alone determine the size of my problems. If I think it's a big problem, it's a big problem, no matter what anybody else thinks. And if I think it's a little problem, it's just a little problem, no matter what anybody else thinks. Don't have many little problems. No, I don't bother with them. It's like resentments. I don't bother with any but the justifiable kind. And besides, if I have a little problem, all I have to do is think about it. All I have to do is think about it and watch it grow. I mean, my mind is like an energy power plant. And it puts all this energy and power into whatever I think about. Like a laser beam or a powerful searchlight. And I have to watch what it's focusing on. Because it'll go off and focus on the most idiotic stuff and watch the stuff just grow and grow and grow. And here I look over here, I got this tremendous problem. And I think, what the hell have you been thinking about that for? You know, my mind has a mind of its own. It's very uncontrollable. But whatever and I have to watch, because whatever it focuses on, it makes it bigger. I can take the littlest problem and watch it make it a big problem. In fact, I can start with a non-problem. I say, well, hell, that's no problem. Well, I suppose if you thought about it, it could be a little bit of a problem, and I get to thinking about it because it's kind of interesting and what's happening to it, and pretty soon I'm thinking, by God, it's a good thing I'm looking at this, you know. Everybody else is missing it, you know. And people can't even help you much with a problem like that. They tell you dumb things like, well, don't think about it. I don't know how to not think about something you're obsessed with. The problem isn't worth having if it's not worth getting obsessed over. It isn't what happens to me that matters, it's what I think about what happens to me. It isn't the events in my life that determine my life, it's my thinking about the events in my life that determine my life. And in fact, it isn't what I think about the events in my life, it's what they think about it. I've got all these people in my head. And there's a big committee up there that passes judgment on everything that goes on in my life. And a whole lot of things that don't go on in my life, you know. When they talk about it, they're up there in session all the time, talking. Just all these people. I shouldn't have even gotten up there and said, my name is Paul and I'm an alcoholic. I should have said, my name is Paul and we are alcoholics. And they talk. That's what they do. They talk. They never do a damn bit of work. They just talk. Talking. If I'm awake, they're talking. If I'm asleep, they're talking, you know. And sometimes I'll wake up and not even remember what they were saying, but I'll have the mood left of what they were saying, and I can wake up and my day's ruined and it hasn't started yet. That's how I got so interested in early morning daily meetings, because I couldn't wait till night to get my day straightened out. It was too late then. I needed them in the morning and then often at night. And I used to focus my life on trying to get the people out there to like me, so then I would like me. I would be comfortable if I was comfortable in my relationship with them. And what the program has taught me is that I need to be comfortable with the people in here, the people in my own head. And the more comfortable I become with them, the less important is how I get along with them out there. But conversely, the more comfortable I am with the people in here, the more comfortable I am with the people out there. It seems to be reflected outward. I used to pretend to be something I wasn't in order to fool them. Today, instead of that, I try to act like the person I want to become in order to become that person. The whole thing, that's how I was very impressed early in sobriety. I used to hear the story, stick with the winners, stick with the winners, stick with the winners. Heard that a lot. I didn't know what a winner was. And I remember I called Chuck C. one time. I said, "What's a winner?" I was surprised when he hesitated. And he finally said, "Well, I guess you have to die sober." And I said, "Well, big damn deal." I guess it's like I used to want to be one of the saints until I found out you had to be dead 300 years before they. And I thought, well, screw that. I decided instead of just dying sober, I thought I'd live sober and enjoy living sober. Now to act like a winner. I made up my own mind as to what a winner was, and go around that and ask the winners, how do you live this program? How do you work this program? And I talked to people that didn't look like they were winners and asked them how they were doing it. And I tried to do the things the winners were doing and not do the things that the non-winners were doing. And how to be a successful member of AA. That was my goal. And periodically I'd kind of changed my definition of what a successful member of AA was. And I set out to do that. It was the actions and taking the actions and doing the things. And the more I've done that, the more comfortable I've become. And the more comfortable I've become with the people in my head. And the more I've come to understand them. I used to fight them. Like there's one up there, there's only one alcoholic up there. No matter what's going on, he's very prone to say, well, let's have a drink. I used to think it was kind of like an order from God or something. Now I know who it is that said that, And they say a lot of things up there. They say things that are lewd and illegal. And, oh, God, I'm so glad you can't hear what they're saying. But now I know who it is when they're talking. I say, well, thank you for participating. Now, if you sit down, we'll call on somebody else. And I find out, what do we do? Is it just listen to all the suggestions. And then I make this. I'm chairman of the committee now. All this time before, I was supposed to be chairman, and I didn't know that. And we just did whoever yelled the loudest. That's what we would do. Now, we don't do that. And the thing is, just like I say, if I look at what's good about life, it gets gooder. If I look at what's bad, it gets badder. And it's the same way with the voices in my head. Whoever I listen to the most moves to the front of the room and talks the loudest. And whoever I shush and don't listen to gets a little miffed and moves to the back of the room and quiets down. So that I can, in that sense, control the voices and control, and I have a lot of control. I hate the word control. A lot of choices in my life. There's, for instance, one example. As I've said repeatedly, Max and I have been married a long time. there's a guy in my head that as long as we've known Max, which is 70 years, as a matter of fact, he's always watched her. And he doesn't like her. And he reports back to me. He said, "Did you see what she just did?" "Did you notice the tone of voice she used when does she know who she's talking to?" He's always done that, all the time. The other thing is, there's another guy up there has been just as obsessed with Max, has known her just as long, has been watching her just as long, also reports back to me, and he thinks she's terrific. He thinks she has a great sense of humor. He thinks it's great that she went to meetings when I didn't want to go or wouldn't go. He thinks it's great that she still goes to Al-Anon. He thinks she is attractive. It's all kinds of great things. And my marriage doesn't depend on what Max does. My marriage depends on which of those two guys I listen to. I can either watch the guy who likes her and things get better, or I can watch the guy who's complaining and watch the marriage just deteriorate. And I have choices. I didn't know. In fact, my whole life is that way. I can it's called the law of appreciation. If I look at what's good, it gets better. If I look at what's bad about life, it gets worse. And in fact, I just realized that saying that to you, I just screwed up your whole time, because now you're going to be responsible for your life. As a matter of fact, I kind of set that as kind of a goal for 1994, is to have a good year, a day at a time, and good emotional sobriety. I like the concept. I like dividing things up into pieces. That's why I like staying sober a day at a time, and I like doing things just structured and break complex things down into small, simple pieces and do it at a time. And Father Barney used to come down here from Seattle and put on retreats for AAs and Al-Anons. And one of the things he said a lot of good stuff. For instance, he said that talking about the serenity prayer, we have to change the things we can and accept the things we can't change. And somebody asked him, how you know which is which? How do you have the wisdom to know the difference? And he said, speaking of that Ivory soap ad of many years ago, it said that 99 and 44 100% of the things we have to accept are out there. And 99 and 44 100% of the things we have to change are inside. But what I started to say was that he liked to divide sobriety down. He said it was like a baseball diamond. He said, first base is physical sobriety, and second base is mental sobriety, and third base is emotional sobriety, and home plate is spiritual sobriety. And I said, well, I thought to myself, I didn't get physical sobriety as my choice, it just kind of happened. And somebody pointed out, well, you can't get to first base without starting at home plate. And I thought, that's good. And it seems to me that the first step is just on the other side of physical sobriety. And the second step is maybe just this side of mental sobriety. And the rest of the steps are the rest of the way along on that diamond. And my impression is that in recovery, at any minute in time, we are either moving further into spiritual sobriety, or we are unconsciously drifting back toward a drink. That we spend our entire time in recovery, moving one direction or another. And we're either getting weller, or we're drifting back where we were. In fact, I was thinking of graft. I've done this, said this several times. I like this concept. And if my life were graft, I was talking about somebody, a computer program where you stick data in and the computer makes a pie graph or a bar graph or whatever. if my life was put in a computer, put on a graph, my life started way over there, and it's going to end way over there. And from the time it started until July 31st, 1967, my life was on a downhill course. Now, it wasn't a straight line down. It was up and down, just enough to keep me confused. And it ended up in the nut ward. I ended up in the nut ward. And that wasn't enough. I had to go to AA. And that wasn't enough. I had to go to AA for 7 months. And I turned into a mild alcoholic. And on that date, my life started to get better and better and better. Again, it hasn't been a straight line up. It's been up and down, up and down, up and down. First year was lousy. Didn't even celebrate my first birthday. Didn't think my sobriety was good enough. Today, I think any dirty old rotten sobriety is better than no sobriety at all. But my life has been getting better and better and better. And some days are better, some weeks are better, some months, some years are better than others. But the long-term trend is better and better. And it seems to me, it appears to me that the only limit to how high that can go is how long I can stay around doing what I'm doing that's helping it to go up. There's no limits there's no top to this program. I hear of people going beyond AA, and I intend to go beyond AA when I've gotten everything I can out of this program. But I can't see any limit to how this program, other than how long I can stay around to do it. And even when things are to go down, there are things all kinds of things I can do to help to get it back up. And when I can't get it to go back up, I know all I have to do is wait. It's the one Bible quote I use. The Bible says, "And it came to pass." The Bible doesn't say, "And it came to stay." And the point is, what really impresses me is that the crux of that V was July 31st, 1967, and all I can think of that happened that day was that on that day I accepted the fact that I was an alcoholic. Very mild, but alcoholic. And what's so powerful about that? The only thing I can see is that I was willing to accept the challenge of trying to live life successfully in spite of the fact I can't drink like other men. I not only can't drink like other men, I can't even keep from drinking like other men do. So I accepted the challenge of living life successfully in spite of that. And my life keeps getting better and better. And it seems to me that when I did that, I went from victim in my life story, from victim to hero in my own life story. I know I went from whiner to winner when I made that change. And it seems to me that if one little act of acceptance would make that much difference in my life, what would life be like if I could enthusiastically accept every single reality in my life? If it worked for that one thing, I wonder if it wouldn't work for just everything. And enthusiastic acceptance in that. Geez, I'm getting so spiritual, I'm going to levitate here. Anyway, like I said, I'm glad to be an alcoholic. I wouldn't find that out if I were an alcoholic. Attitude seems to be just about everything. I mean, somebody said that used to say AA stands for altered attitudes. And if there's anything different about me that's unusual at all, it's my attitude is entirely different. And the thing that really, not only have I been impressed with how important attitude is, but I am impressed with the fact that I've learned in AA that my attitude is my responsibility. It is not your fault. It's not Max's fault. It's nobody's fault. My attitude is my choice. me and those people in my head and who I listen to. And I'm sure glad I get along better with them than I used to, and I'm glad to be here tonight. And I have the urge to say I love you all. It always drove me nuts when speakers said that. You don't even know me, you jerk. Whether it bothers anybody or not, I love you all. Thank you very much.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.